Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of Need to Nerd. I'm your host, Spencer, and I'm joined, just like every week, by my co-host, a man who once got 32 points for picking up a piece of trash off the ground, Wes Singleton.
That's a lot of round wins. I didn't realize you could win a Magic tournament that easily, but
Wait, what?
I'll try that sometime.
No, 32 points for the good place.
I know. I can
I see. You mess with me. You messing with me.
Yeah, because that's ultimately what this season of The Good Place is about.
Is messing with people. That's true.
A little bit.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into this.
It's all out there. It's all out in the open, the messing with people.
So I listened back to our first episode of this series that we're going to do, West, and I think we should probably re-record it at some point just because of how bad the audio issues were. But, if you had listened to it, I wanted to give, that second episode, that second season some love and continue the trend, as I hadn't talked to Wes before this exact moment to tell him that I wanted to re-record it.
Everything's a surprise to me. It's great.
But this week's episode is going to be our review of season 2 of The Good Place. Just like with season 1, although I don't know that The Good Place, if you haven't watched it, you should stop this, go watch season 1, and then listen.
We apologize for making content that has a requirement before you watch it, but guess what? We're doing reviews, and the best way to understand the review is to have also seen the material.
Yeah.
So you can engage with it with us.
And I usually we do a sell it segment to kind of sell you why you should watch the piece of content that we're talking about. The Good Place
sells itself.
Yeah, The Good Place is just not really a great show to do that for. So we're already going to enter spoiler territory. So, if you haven't seen it, and you're wanting to continue listening, here's the spoiler, the little less spoiler, I guess, but you should not listen to this if you haven't seen season 1. But yeah, so we last saw our friends, Chidi, Jason. Oh my gosh, am I forgetting people's names?
The next one is the one that if you're going to trip on.
Tahani, and then Eleanor. Okay, there we go.
Was Kristen Bell stuck in your head?
Yeah, I kept wanting to say Kristen Bell, and I'm like, it's Eleanor. Yeah. Anyway,
back to trying to sell the show for one moment. There's literally only one way I can think of to sell the show, and it's to ask the question: do you find Kristen Bell attractive? Do you
want to see bisexual Kristen Bell, be awesome? Because that's what the show is, but.
Yeah.
But, when we last left our friends, they had just found out that the good place that they had been living in, this afterlife in which you have a point system in which when you earn enough points on Earth, you are sent either to the good place or the bad place. They found out that after many months, they had been torturing each other in the bad place, all set up by actors and demons sent there to put them into scenarios that would make them really unhappy. And Eleanor, in a last-ditch effort to try and, figure out how to escape this bad place, takes a note, shoves it into Janet's mouth that says, "Find Chidi." And we end up with Janet just handing Eleanor the note, and the season ends. And the first thing I want to say about this is that this is probably my second favorite season of The Good Place. I said it in the first show, but The Good Place is just my absolute favorite TV show of all time. It brings tears to my eyes. It makes me laugh. It makes me question who I am as a person, what I'm trying to accomplish in this world, and what I do to be a better person. And this season does all of that, all in one. And it's my second favorite season of the show. So I'm really excited to talk about this season.
I would solidly rank this in my top 4 seasons of the show.
Oh man, that's such a high bar.
And you'll find out how I rank them all after you've seen all 4 of my reviews, half of which are not made yet. So I'm sure I'll level myself in the future.
Yeah. So I'm going to give a brief synopsis of the season. So as I said, we start off with Eleanor knowing that she's in the supposed good place. She thinks she's in the good place, but she's not supposed to be there. She was trying to find this guy named Chidi. And so we go through some scenarios where, she is trying to stay focused, and so it's messing with the plans of Michael and the other demons. Eventually, she and Chidi find out that they're in the bad place together after many different failed attempts. And you kind of go through these cycles of her figuring out that she's in the bad place again and again and again until eventually Michael teams up with them, and they...
I was gonna say until eventually Jason gets it.
Yeah, that was I'm sure that was gonna be one of your favorite moments. It's just like,
I don't even know if it's like my favorite moment, as in like I think it almost wrote itself, right? Because
this is a new low.
Yeah, well, exactly, right? Like, I do think that they follow up that scene with depressed Michael, which I think is my favorite moment. Like the 60-second take that 60-second take, like, is in seconds long.
Yeah, it's really funny
where
too.
He just asks Eleanor why she sucks, which mostly is like reflecting back on him, because obviously the then Michael sucks, not necessarily Eleanor as much.
Yeah. So eventually they team up and try to... Michael lies and says he can find a way for them to get into the good place, which isn't really true. And it all leads to them going to find the ultimate judge of everything. And then the judge gives them...
who quite frankly sucks.
She's
But I guess that's not a season 2 thing.
She's pretty funny in season 2.
She doesn't have that many. I guess she's only around for a couple of episodes in season 2, but
yeah. But one of the things that kind of happens is that the judge tests everybody. Tahani has a test to try and go just through a hallway without visiting one of these doors full of people talking about her. Chidi has to pick a hat. We don't really know what Jason's test was going to be. And Eleanor's test was not to give up on her friends and to, do this thing with them. And, it ends up that only Eleanor passes, and because of that, because of an agreement made, they're all going to be sent back to the bad place. But Michael finds a loophole, not a loophole, but a compromise to allow them to go back to Earth, to try and, relive their lives as if they hadn't died and become better people and show that they did improve as people in the bad place, and they can improve on Earth still, become better people, and earn their spot in the good place. And we do end the season with them still in their current lives. So with that kind of synopsis, should we kind of go into the show?
Yeah.
Wes, what was your favorite storyline? What was the storyline you loved the most this season, that you most vibed with?
This is like Jason's season.
Oh, tell me about that.
So Jason just has, first, he solves the riddle. I know that's like a small thing, but like, I don't know, like Jason, I think, has the easy position of most improved soul over the course of the whole thing because of just the like considerably low starting place we had, right? Like
the king of Molotov cocktails.
I think Jason is like a perfect example of how it's not smart and dumb. It's opportunity and exposure and experience, right? Jason's issue is that he's never like met or interacted with a smart person. He's from Jacksonville, Florida. I'm kidding.
Say that on the show.
I'm absolutely kidding. But obviously, the show is making the joke about Florida the whole time. I feel like we have to, to ride that a little bit.
Yeah, I think that like, even in this season, one of my favorite moments is Jason's talking when they're on Earth. And it's like the first interaction that Eleanor has with him on Earth, and he just starts talking, and she looks at him, she goes, "Are you from Florida?" And he's like, "Jacksonville." And she goes, "Yeah, that makes sense."
Yeah, Eleanor's intuition's really quite good. But actually, I think that like some of the coolest things that Jason does in this season are, I really like his role in the first reboot, where he's been paired with another demon who's just being a silent monk along with him, designed to torture him that way. And I just love how quickly Jason just realizes, yo, that person cannot be my friend. I am not going to stick around for this. Here, Eleanor, take this bicycle gear that I took off of the other bike. And boy, does Eleanor, like, I feel like Eleanor gets Jasoned by Jason a little bit there, because she reads way too much into a small trinket that has nothing to do with her, which is great. And then as Jason engages in his relationship with Tahani, I think that that's also fascinating. And on one hand, high five Jason. On the other hand, high five Tahani. But also, like, there's deep problems in the relationship, and I think that they're a little bit more Tahani's than Jason's, which is cool. Jason's issue is that he won't sit and talk, right?
Yeah. I think that
Janet is just the whole thing. And Jason is good to Janet and bad to Janet, and generally just is the thing that makes Janet more interesting in the world, which is always good, because, as I think you're going to say, you like Janet humor in this season a lot.
I do. It's not my favorite storyline, but I do like Janet humor a lot. Chidi is actually my favorite storyline in this specific season, because I think Chidi has a lot of growth.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's also the first time that we get to see shirtless Chidi is in this season, and I know a lot of people
big fans
simped hard for that. You know, I am a straight man, so I don't exactly see the same appeal, but I get it. I get why a man with abs like that would be something people would get into. But one of the storylines that is the most interesting to me is Chidi does a really good job right away of getting better at making different types of decisions once he lives through that near-death experience.
But that's not really this season, if you're talking about the way he nearly dies.
Oh, you're right. That's the beginning of the season 3.
Yeah, the Good Place ends its season.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie. What I just said is in season 3 too. I just watched the next. Yeah, the.
No. We get shirtless Chidi in season 1 and season 2.
Is that the Jeremy?
Is that the Jeremy when he says "I love you"?
Oh, that's right. You're right. We
don't see a ton of shirtless Chidi, but we do see shirtless Chidi.
That's true. The moment I was thinking about is the Jeremy Bear Me episode, though, which is season 3. Yeah. But I think that Chidi has some pretty great moments in this season outside of where I was going. The moment where he couldn't pick the hat is one of pretty huge humor for me, and like the judges like.
His lack of self-awareness on that issue is so funny, because he just like gets so deep in the choice that he doesn't realize that it was like for Chidi's like makes one choice really quickly every time, and that's whether he's going to react or plan to things as they come at him.
Yeah.
Right. The choosing which hat is planning, right?
He also makes to that point. He actually also always makes the choice to help Eleanor relatively quickly.
Yes, that's very important. Although for the like brief 2 minutes that Chidi says, "No, I can't help you, Eleanor," Eleanor is just crushed.
Yeah. I think one of the things that happens with Chidi in this also is some of his moments helping Michael in this season are really interesting. And his willingness to I mean, I've seen this on Twitter before, but like we don't deserve Chidi. Like as like consumers of any type of media, Chidi is too precious for us. And just I certainly get where Chidi's coming from and just caring so much about how your actions impact others. And
Yeah.
it is something that, we have that moment where Michael is fake apologizing and Chidi's just nodding his head like, I'm gonna tear up talking about it now, but like it's this moment of like this love that this this guy has for this demon that's been torturing him for 64 years. Like this guy is literally his purpose in existence has been to torture you, and you still want to help him get better.
Yeah.
And I don't know, that like Chidi just is a sweetheart, and this season really goes to show it. I think that you see that in his, that moment in the bed with Eleanor. You see that with how he interacts with Jason. You see that in how he interacts with Michael. The Jason Dahani triple date was also a pretty great Chidi moment. That was in season 1 though. I'm pretty sure. That all blends
triple
together.
Date.
I'm pretty sure that's season 1 actually. But I'm just thinking of all my favorite Chidi moments at this point. Yeah.
A great Chidi moment from this season is when he's early on in it when he's being asked to pick soulmates, and I think that Chidi and how he can be tortured easily, I think, is a really interesting point. But like, could you imagine such a developed view of torturing Chidi, where you give him a choice, make it easy enough to make the choice, and then deny the choice? That's harsh. But he respects authority too much to retreat. And this is when he's picking between the two soulmates. Right. And one is like someone who Chidi would vibe with, and the other is
that moment's so sad.
I don't know, is just more vapid than Chidi could really understand.
Another great moment is the live trolley torture of Chidi.
I think that episode's just really good because I think it's a turning point, right? It's where Michael, I mean, first off, that apology scene is, I think, really good. And Michael is a really interesting character in the season, just in general. And I think that the interaction between the three of them there with the trolley scenes is just really fascinating. And they do kind of get into some of the, right? Like, I think that one of the weaknesses of Chidi is that theory doesn't equate practice. Right? You can know all about the theory of something, but until you're used to doing that thing, it's still hard.
Yeah.
Yep. And while Michael chooses the most cruel way to make that point, it's very eloquently made.
I think that also it has a nice bow on it for later in the season when Michael pushes Eleanor through the door and talks about the trolley problem.
Mm-hmm.
It was I don't know, it was poetic. So, is there anything you would change in this season?
I mean, I could have done without Derek.
I think that the guy that plays Derek is really good at the characters that he likes to play. I typically don't find those characters very funny. But
yeah, I think that
there are people who love those characters, and I probably wouldn't want to take them away from those people.
Sure. I do probably, in the end, right, my dissatisfaction with Derek lies, at least, honestly, Derek exists for all 4 seasons, and probably season 2 Derek is my least favorite Derek. Closely followed by season 3 Derek. But like I don't love the choice to make the dysfunction of a person to that degree funny.
It's
also a bit robot humor, but
yeah,
at the same time,
I think it is robot humor. Have you watched The League?
No.
Okay, you would not like his character in The League either. I listen to podcasts that he comes on sometimes, and he's like the actor, and he is a really, really funny guy. But the characters that they tend to give him,
Yeah.
I don't vibe with. Derek is the only thing that I would change too.
I mean, he does Crazy Eyes very well, the actor. I'm not denying that. But like, I think that Derek is he's a plot vehicle as well.
Yes, I think that's
right.
true.
You know, one of the really cool things about Janet is that Janet is the mother of all plot vehicles, right? Janet exists to move things forward that were not previously able to be moved forward by just providing things and structuring the world, right?
Yeah.
But they choose to make Janet a really a functional character as well, and I don't think Derek does anything for anybody in terms of developing them as people that they couldn't have done without Derek, including Janet rebounding. Right, I feel like Janet could have picked other ways to rebound.
Sure.
And it could have written well. Like, I don't think that the creation of Derek was the only way to do it, and I don't love that character.
Sure. For me, I could have done with way less reboot time. I said this in the pre-show that if you're on Patreon, you can kind of hear our sound check where we kind of, talked about this a little bit about this season before the show started. But I don't know. Like, the most interesting parts of this season for me are, the test, Michael trying to become a better person, or big demon thing. I don't know. Like, the reboots are just, I don't know. It just took a long time for me.
Sure. I think that one of the grating parts about the reboots is we're not supposed to enjoy seeing the characters returned to a state before they progressed, right? Because one of the underlying facets of these people is that the way that they arrived in the afterlife, they were not fantastic specimens of people.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
They grew into it. They really grew into being amazing people, but like base Eleanor as a model is just like harsh.
Yeah, I also just didn't find any of Vicky's stuff funny.
Vicky is another weak character of the show, but she does do some interesting.
Which kind of is weird because I've seen that actress in other things that I really loved her in. So
one of the things I have to say about The Good Place is all of the actors are so good at what they're doing
that they
seamlessly become their characters.
That's
right?
true.
Like, think about like how good of an actor Michael is, and think of how much better the actor who plays Michael is.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I think that Ted Danson just does like a. I was actually thinking that watching season 3 today. I was like, man, Ted Danson's so good. Like at being this character, it's so impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing.
It's like a skin suit that he's just wearing. It's his skin suit.
It's really impressive. But yeah, I think that just I don't know that part is probably the only other thing that I would change. I loved this season of The Good Place though. Is there a favorite line or a favorite episode for you?
Ooh, favorite line or favorite episode? I think that the Leap to Faith episode is just a really good one. I think that the fact, like, I think that that's the way they show more than anything else, like how far this group has come, right? That's the part where they all come together, they all gel to doing a thing, and like, there's a lot of like, this is crazy, I don't know what's happening type of thing. Like, did Michael really betray them? Is it there? Is it a clue? And like the fact that Eleanor can just trust Michael implicitly is a like good moment for those two characters who might develop the strongest relationship of any characters in the show in general. So it's really fascinating.
Yeah, I will say this. So if you're listening to this and you're watching the show along with us as you're listening to these podcasts, I'm gonna. This is not gonna be a spoiler, but I'm gonna say, pay really close attention to episode somewhere else. I think it's the 13 or 12. But the moment where Chidi talks about what we owe each other, and why he. Man, I'm gonna cry. I cried today watching this. So, Oh man, I am gonna cry.
His TED Talk?
Yeah, it's just whew.
Yeah, well, I think, yeah, this show is so powerful because it can pull on our heartstrings so well, and it does it in just such a relatable set of ways.
Yeah, I'll be pretty vulnerable with the podcast listeners. I grew up in a pretty religious household, and I have left that religion and no longer a religious person. And when you go from being, believing in a certain type of afterlife and a certain way to live your life to not believing in those things anymore, one of the things that you go through is trying to decide who you are as a person and what you believe. And when Chidi is talking about that, and when Chidi is speaking to Eleanor about that, it's so relatable for what I've gone through as a person trying to figure out who I am, what I believe, and how I believe that humans should interact with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And it is easily my second favorite part of this entire show.
Yeah. So this is actually an interesting question, right? So let's play in some hypothetical space for a minute, which is that we understand that to a certain extent, the Bible and everything in that sort of region of religious text is about telling fantastic stories that sort of give the path to how to be a good person.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The Good Place is such a story.
Oh, absolutely. It was so funny. Like, somebody asked me my religion, like, right after I watched season 4 of this show. And they were like, what do you think happens after you die? I was like, it's just, it's a point system. And they were like, isn't that the plot of Good Place? I'm like, yeah, that's what I believe. And they're like,
why not, right?
Yeah, because, and I think that the truth is if there's one thing that I think anyone, regardless of what your belief system is, can take away from the Good Place, it's the asking questions about how we should treat one another, and is a good thing. And trying to improve as people to make the world the best place, not just for yourself, but for everyone around you, that's something that...
Yeah, they argue, right? And that's part of the reason why, is I think that The Good Place puts forward, right, through a variety of characters, a coherent philosophical vision, which is that helping people is its own reward, and choosing to help people specifically for another reward has issues, depending on how severe the thing you want is relative to how, right, compared to what your behavior is when you don't think it matters, right? Like, and I think that's the point, right? Is that if you are being good because Santa is going to give you a present, you might not care as much when you think you can get away with it.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're good because you want to just make it a good place for everyone, and you really think critically about how would that person want to be treated, or what are the impacts of my actions, you end up being the person who acts in a good way all the time, as opposed to the 3 months leading up to Christmas, for a very cherry-picked example.
Yeah, I think that, one of the reasons that I love this season so much is the humanity of this season. You have Michael going through his existential crisis, which is something that I relate to really well. You have Eleanor trying to do good things, feeling like nothing I do matters. Why do I even effing do this? Giving up, and then just running into some stranger who reminds her that the reason that we do good things isn't because somebody gives us praise, but because what happens if we don't? What happens to the world, to society? What is a society where we don't lift each other up? Where we don't do things for one another just because isn't that what we want from other people? I don't know. Mm-hmm. Like this episode specifically, like, oh man, I'm gonna cry again. But it was
coming back to somewhere else.
Yeah, it's just it is so good, and I don't know. This show means a lot to me, and that episode specifically means a lot to me. So.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the one thing that also comes out in that conversation between Michael and Eleanor there, Eleanor not knowing who Michael is just how conversant all of these characters have become in their, when they're in their meta-knowledge state, right? When they know what's going on, not when they've been submerged back into not knowing what's going on, because they kind of like come in and out of that state a lot.
Right.
But when they're in like the fully understanding state, they're so good at ethics, even beyond Chidi at this point. Right. Where Michael just is like casually, and it's easier for Michael because Michael is a demon and just can hold knowledge as if it was as if it was a box instead of having to learn it. But at the same time, he's practicing it, internalizing it, and if Michael can do it, all the other characters did it far long ago and much easier.
I want to move on from this point because I could just talk about this specific piece for probably the rest of the episode.
Which is, by the way, this is easily the hardest part about podcasting, is that the conversation goes beyond what is good content.
Yeah.
But let's move on.
I would say that my second favorite, because I want to talk about it, is Janet. You have the just like Janet's malfunctioning brings this humanity to Janet that you did not get in season 1, and it's so funny because I think during
I'm not supposed to do that. Yeah.
In our first episode of this in season 1, I talked about how Janet's one of my favorite characters, and how I really was trying to figure out what it was about season 1 that I didn't absolutely love, and it is that you don't have Janet as this human character, as this relatable thing. And in season 2, that goes out the window. Like, she is madly in love with this dingus that she knows is a dingus. She knows all of his.
So relatable.
It's so cute. It's so cute.
Right, like
it is so cute.
Like, this is a lost puppy person. I don't know how to help it. It's cute. It's making eyes at me, but I know it's helpless. But I like it anyways.
It's so adorable.
We've all been attracted to that person. It's part of the reason that we like pets, right? But Jason is he's so lovable, totally. But he's an absolute dingus.
So you have her, but at the same time, she's still trying to fulfill her core purpose of helping these people, and it is she does it so well. Mm-hmm. Like, this actress, what is her name? I need to give her a shout out because she just absolutely
Darcy Carden.
Oh, Darcy, if you're for some reason watching this, you knocked it out of the park.
Like, also, I mean, Darcy has to handle so many more characters than the average actor in this show. Her
bad Janet's also hysterical, and then her pretending to be
eventual neutral Janet.
Her pretending to be bad Janet as good Janet,
which is hilarious.
Oh man, just the whole thing it's great writing. It's great. I mean, you get to love this character. You go from this character that is, I mean, just think about how much I disliked season 1 Janet. And it was on the episode I even say, the reason that I dislike it is because I know what she becomes. So rewatching it, I'm like, she's not funny. And then you get to season 2 Janet, and you're like, you're hysterical. Like, and I'm already watching season 3 again. She only gets better and more interesting.
Which is totally the narrative of Janet, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the interesting thing about Janet is she kind of represents technology in a way, and technology's role for humans, right? Which is that the more people gave her their needs, the more sophisticated she got. Eventually breaking her function is, could you imagine computers being your therapist? Sometimes therapists aren't that good at being therapists.
Sure.
But that's the thing that's driving Janet to become this cooler individual.
Yeah. Well, I think my other favorite moment is I think we kind of mentioned it, but just Chidi's instant ability to tell Eleanor that he is in love with her in that video. And Eleanor just watching that and being like, forking shirt balls, am I in love with Chidi? Like, it's cute. By the way, I'm in love with Chidi, so if I can get one female version of Chidi shipped to my house, I think I can convince Devin to let that into our relationship.
I mean, I would be very attracted to Chidi's brain in a vat that can speak, right?
Sure, like, yeah.
I think it doesn't take much. I think that, like, if I can get this thinking, breathing element that speaks in Chidi's voice, that'd be all I need. And Mindy Thompson needs much less than that.
Is Mindy? Are you talking about Mindy Sinclair?
Or Mindy Sinclair, yeah. I don't know where I was pulling that name from.
That's okay. I actually wanted to talk about her.
I know that Freudian slip. Okay, never mind. But keep going. She's not that bad of a person either.
Okay. Did you know Mindy Thompson? Are we just talking shit on people on the show?
High school teacher.
Oh, okay. Well,
but weirdly, not the Miss Thompson I didn't like.
Anyway, so Mindy Sinclair is the other thing that I want to cover, because she went from kind of this annoying character, and in this show she's actually like helpful. In this season she's helpful, and I think that she also improves through the cycle of meeting and interacting with these people.
And she's doing it on like drip by drip. Right?
Yeah, it's so interesting too, because one of the coolest parts about The Good Place is it really hammers home the idea that humans are flawed, we're not perfect, but together we lift each other up and improve. And as little interaction as Mindy Sinclair has with these people, she gets better. She improves.
Totally.
A demon Michael improves.
Yeah, I think that for Mindy, it's so interesting because she improves literally because it's more fascinating to watch these people trying to improve than anything else in the medium place.
That's true. Can you imagine having to drink warm beer all the time? It's like, I could get drunk, but I'm so sick of warm beer.
This happens to me actually every time I have a beer, because I'm just slow enough at drinking a beer usually that it gets warm by the time I'm drinking it. But it would be pretty bad to have warm beer all the time, unless it was like, I mean, there's ways to make it better, but like the whole point is it's supposed to suck a little bit. So,
before we go into our rating, I want to talk about something. This show has a 100% rating from critics on Rotten Tomatoes. The people that I usually disagree with.
The show has it.
Oh, the show has it. Is that correct?
Or, I don't know.
No, the second season has a rating of 100% based on 58 reviews.
Wow.
Here's the thing. I don't usually agree with critics from there. Its mediatric score is...
Spencer will read any of their reviews and be like, that is the gospel.
It also has an 87 on mediatric. This season had a pretty big dip in viewership. But I think that it's almost like the bridge season of The Good Place for me. Like,
oh, totally. It's an absolute bridge of a season. I mean,
especially when you know what season 4. Yeah, when you know what season 4 is, like you have like this beginning, and then this is the middle, and then I don't even know what to call season. It's like middle part 2, but like.
It's the hanging on by a little bit when you almost fall off the bridge.
Yeah,
that's what.
Whereas season 4 is like, oh, this we'll get into that later. But this is like.
Okay, I can actually tell the story of The Good Place in a bridge metaphor.
Okay.
There is a start of the bridge. You are walking on the bridge. You're out in the middle. You look down. It's scary. Then you fall. But you land and you're okay. But then you walk back to the top of the cliff or whatever.
And then you fall again?
You're at the other end of the bridge by the time you get back up, right? Like,
yeah,
you're where you wanted to be, but like, you basically had to build the ladder yourself.
So, with the critical reception, the dip in views, I just want to call out, like, this show is so underrated. Like, to me, this is this show is so good.
I'm laughing because 100% rating review is underrated, right? Like, it's so ironic. I agree.
It's so crazy that nobody has the show as high as that. Like, I talk to people about their favorite TV shows. The only person I know that has this as their favorite TV show of all time is a person that I would never guess would have this as their favorite TV show of all time.
Spencer Howland.
No, other than me is what I meant, but
also Spencer Howland.
Yeah, Spencer Howland V2
The
also
third.
Yeah. But West, we do this on a scale of 0 being you should never ever consume this content, to 5, a work of perfect art. I wouldn't change a thing. With 3 being, yeah, that was good. Where do you rate this?
Derek got a Derek. I'm kidding. It's like
wow, that was a lot
because of Derek.
Okay, 4.5 because of Derek. I would give it a 4.5 also. What did we give the first one? Did we both give it a 5?
You're asking the wrong person to remember things that happened, and you watched the episode that we did already. So, and
that's fair.
Edited it. If you don't remember, there's not a chance I remember.
Well, I'll figure that out.
I should be writing these things down.
I do think that this is a 4.5. I think that it's not because I don't even know that it's like I would change this season. Maybe I'd give it a 5. It's funny. Like, I do agree with you that Derek as a character is not something that I enjoy, but I have talked to people that love and find Derek's wind chimes really funny.
Okay, there are elements of Derek that are hilarious. My issue, I think, is a core choice of, like, it's like a writing decision. Just like, this is the way I want to move the story forward, and I think it'll be funny, is the thing I kind of take issue with. Sure.
I think that I almost want to give it a 5. Like, I love this season so much. I'm going to give it a 5. I think that
it has a 5 in it if you just give it a 4.5, Spencer.
That's true. That's factual. I think that for me, the first time that I watched The Good Place, I did not laugh one single time through the first, like, 5 episodes. And I think I said that in our other podcast.
I think that's literally how you watch it the first time.
Yeah.
Like, I think that, like, you're just like...
and it's so funny because it was like, I don't get it. My wife won't watch it. She's like, it's not funny. I don't get it. I'm like, you have to watch the whole thing. Like, it doesn't make any sense. She's like, it's stupid. It doesn't make any sense. I'm like, it's not supposed to.
Yeah. So I think that episode 1 of The Good Place is a lot like an impressionist painting. Go look at, like,
episode 1 through 3 of The Good Place is like,
yeah, like, go look at, like, a foot-by-foot square of this, and you're like, I don't get it. Like, what's going on here? It's just a bunch of dots. And then you take 10 paces backwards, and you can see the whole painting, and you're like, whoa!
Yeah. I'm gonna stick with my 4.5. This season is beautiful, and really sets up really important things for season 3 and season 4 of The Good Place. It creates a space in which you're gonna shed a lot of tears, like so many tears. You're gonna have a lot of laughs, and you're gonna truly fall in love with the idea of humanity and humans and these people and all people. And that's because you've seen these people so vulnerable like you do in this season. Because, yeah. I mean, it doesn't get more vulnerable than Michael's existential crisis. It doesn't get more vulnerable than all of these people realizing why they're bad people. And what is my biggest weakness? And this season is like, this is why you suck. Mm-hmm. Go freaking fix it.
I think another one is the question of how do you like making sure that you understand that you yourself are redeemable as the only way to make yourself redeemable, right? Because I think that Michael, his initial challenge towards becoming a better demon is that he just has this narrative that he's telling himself of, I'm bad, I can't do good.
Yeah.
Or I certainly can't do good for the sake of good. And I think that struggle, right? A lot of people, I think, give up on themselves in a way that makes it hard that opens the door for other people to give up on them.
Yep. That is going to do it. We got 2 4.5s on this one. knock out of the park. If you, for some reason you're listening still, you haven't watched the show, please watch it before we do seasons 3 and 4. You definitely won't regret it. Next week we will be doing season 2 of Legend of Korra, so stay tuned for that. And
I think I now just have to go rewatch season 2. It's been so long now.
I'm sorry, dude.
I'm kidding, of course. But I would rewatch season 2 of Legend of Korra at the drop of a hat because it's season 2 of Legend of Korra. I was actually having a conversation with kids the other day, very articulate about Avatar and where they expressed some of their ideas about Legend of Korra, and it is fascinating.
Yeah. Before we go this week, though, I just want to. I know that ballots are going out in the mail in many states, and I just want to encourage listeners, no matter where you land on anything, to go out and vote. Also, when you're voting, I just want to encourage everybody to. There's a ton of resources to help you decide who to vote for. It's really easy to feel really lost when it comes to voting. There's an awesome website called isidewith.com. It's a neutral website that just has you take a quiz that can be as short or as long as you really want it to be, and it both asks you how important certain issues are for you, as well as gives you additional options if you want more options for the presidency, as well as some other areas that when you answer those questions, it can kind of help you on some level of local politics, as well as if you happen to be voting by mail. One thing that I recommend to everybody is to check out the all the candidates' platforms just as you're filling it out, just so that you're able to see, does their platform align with my line of thinking, and if it's a person that is an incumbent, I would recommend looking up their voter history and seeing if their voting history aligns with your line of thinking. I know that it sounds like a lot of work, but we're talking about what we owe each other, and I think this is something that we, at least for those who are listening in America, do owe each other. Just to go out and do our part to make America the place that you, not me or West, we're not going to tell you what to do, but go make America the place that you want it to be. And in order to do that, your part is more than just pushing a button that says align with a party. It's voting for the person that you think is going to do the best job. So
also, if you're sitting and thinking, yeah, I'm registered to vote, I'm going to vote, no worries. Double check that you're registered to vote, please. I did it today. It was easy as all can be. All you have to do is provide the information that lets them look it up, because your state has a database of who's registered to vote. Please do so, because unfortunately we live in times where just because you were at one point registered does not mean you will stay registered.
Yep.
So please double check that. So
that is, I think, what we owe each other right now, especially this year. And so, do that. I think, my little brother, I had him take the test, and one of his biggest concerns is, he's like, oh, it's going to be biased and tell me not to vote for the person that I wanted to vote for. My little brother is a, very conservative, religious kid, and it 100% aligned with where he thought it was going to align, or where I thought it was going to align for him. And he actually learned a lot about where he stands on issues versus the person that he was voting for. And versus the people that he wasn't considering. And he learned a lot about, what the core issues are in our country and globally, and where he stands on global politics. So once again, that's isidewith.com, or it might be isidewith.org. I'll put it in the show notes, though. And then, of course, as always, we just want to give a shout out to just the Black community. And if you want to support that, that's in the show notes as well as our recently launched Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/EasyGameMedia.
A distant third behind all of these other important things, by the way.
That's why I said the others first, West.
Oh, absolutely. Some people might take a narrative idea of 1, 2, 3 being an increasing importance.
Oh, sure.
It's the last thing
it's
noticed,
the reverse.
But please, we're giving this to you in like a step-by-step list of you should check that you're registered to vote. You should make sure that you are centering voices that are marginalized, and you should join our Patreon.
Yeah. With that being said, thank you everybody so much for listening this week. I encourage everybody this week to think about what you owe each other and to try and be a better person tomorrow than you were today. And thank you.
Bye, everyone.